Hi everyone, I hope you are able to see me. I'll be turning on my screen very soon. All right. There was some fiasco. We were trying to launch it, and it was again and again going into the different accounts. Okay. All right. All right. So great to see all of you today. And before we start, do you have any questions for me? All right. Did you go through the things that we discussed last time? All right, let me open my presentation as well. Okay. Wonderful to have all of you in this discussion. And hey, hi everyone. Hey Abhishek, hey Jojo, hey Devidas, hey Jalinder, Abhishek. Wonderful. All right. So we have not missed much. In the last discussion, what we had was we basically talked about how to get started. Okay, and that was the main idea that we talked about last time. Okay, so we did a brief motivation and like why should you learn programming, and that's about it. Okay. All right. So wonderful. Now, do you have any questions for me since last time? Question is how many sessions we'll be having? We'll have around we planned around 4 to 6 sessions, depending upon the need. Okay. And yeah. All right. So let me open the. Okay. Let me open the presentation, the one that we used last time. All right. Do you have, did you try CloudxLab environment? Yes, no? All right, wonderful. So what we are going to do as part of this is go over the couple of ideas and then figure out what are the questions that you have to attempt in CloudxLab. Okay. So a question from Samiksha is that will we be covering machine learning in these sessions? These sessions are very much centric towards Python. And once you're comfortable with Python, you can move in many directions in your life, whether you want to do just analytics, machine learning, deep learning, if you want to do if you want to go ahead with a full stack development, like for example, if you want to learn Django or Flask, that is also there. And then if you want to move to game development using Python, that's also there. And if you are looking at the you're looking at the scripting in automation, that's also another career. So this one opens doors to many more career, like many more you know career ahead. So it is up to you. It is up to you how you it is up to you how you utilize these sessions. Okay, so I'm going to start with uh, uh, where was I? And all right, just give me a moment. I'm just trying to pick my presentation. All right, just give me a moment. Just to keep everybody on the same page, I will be. All right. Okay, so all of you, all of you, yeah, went through the CloudxLab one, right? No. So what we discussed was that if you do not have any environment and you are not planning to subscribe to CloudxLab, what you can do is you can go ahead and install, say, Anaconda, right? So you can install Anaconda. Okay. So Anaconda is a free public, environment, which basically comes with the Jupyter Notebook, and you can try that. All right. So you will find basically you'll find the ID of this one. I think it's on anaconda.org. Okay. And installation on Windows. This is probably okay. So you can just download it and install it. All right. So you'll get a Jupyter Notebook on your on your own desktop. All right. Now that is the Anaconda, and at CloudxLab we have installed it for you. Okay, and we have created a tutorial at CloudxLab. So if you go here, under my courses, okay, and right. So if you go here, you will find foundations of Python. Okay, that could be part of masterclass here. And you will also find, say, Linux basics and other topics under this. Okay. Here you'll find all the videos, right? This is like overview, not the video. This is overview. And these are the session recordings. And this is where every week's videos will be appearing. And under this, you will find the self-paced course on Python. Okay, so this has been tested by close to 20,000 users, although it is showing 8,000 here, but there are multiple versions of this Python course, which has been tested by multiple people so far. So close to 20,000 people have attempted this one so far. Okay, now coming back to it, here, so what you see is, okay, so these are the old session, like the previous sessions recording, and you can skip it. Okay, this one goes into details about how to set up your environment in more details. And we basically talked quickly about these components. Okay, so last time, what we learned, what we discussed was why learn programming, the computer architecture, hardware and software. Nothing much. You all know these parts. I'm hoping that. So what it means by a CPU, hard disk, memory, those were the parts that we discussed. We did a brief peek into Python, like this is how the Python code looks like. That's what we did last time. And then we talked about why do people use Python. We basically use it to code all kinds of things, whether you are in today's world, whether you are building your own machine, like own robot, or doing the backend automation. All cases we use, these days we use Python. Those who are worried about that Python may not be of use to you in future and so on, don't worry. If you learn one programming language, you can switch to any programming language very quickly. And why Python, not R for machine learning? Usually this is another question that I get. So quick answer is that with R, you can only do analytics and basics of machine learning. But with Python, the doors are open for all. Of course, there are IDs and other support from R, which allows you to do deep learning and other things with R. But again, those are not that friendly. So most of the people use Python for most of the work. Okay. So make yourself comfortable with Python, and this is probably easiest language to learn. And it is fairly versatile. It is very popular and used in many circumstances. So then we talked about launching Python. Okay, and this right-hand side you'll see is the notebook. We call it notebook. It's the same notebook as what you see here. If you go to CloudxLab and say My Lab, okay, it's the same notebook that you see. This is a notebook which is opened with this playlist. On the left-hand side, you will see the theory. On the right-hand side, you will see the notebook. Okay, and here, if you don't want to just follow the tutorial, instead you want to work on your own, you can click on Jupyter here inside your My Lab. My Lab you can reach from here also. Okay, you can click on your logo and the icon and here, and then here you can simply say new and click on Python 3. Okay, click on Python 3, and this way basically you will be able to open a fresh new notebook. Okay, this is a Jupyter notebook, and the simplest code you can write is print 1 + 1, right? So this is the simplest code that you could write. And what you have to do is press Shift Enter in order to run it. Okay, and also please note that sometimes, sometimes the order could be different. Let's say I executed x = 1 here, and then I printed x here. Okay, so here the answer is 1 because I first executed this and executed that. So the order of execution and order of the lines in this notebook are two different things. So sometimes this confuses us, but you can always look at these numbers here, 3, 4. 3 means executed earlier, 4 means executed later. Also do a lot of experimentation here. In case you see asterisk here, that means the kernel is waiting for your input. Like for example, if I say input, all right, and this is okay, so it's asking me to enter something. When it's asking me to enter something, you'll see asterisk here, right? Okay, so this means that okay, in such cases, what you can do is you don't want to enter anything and you see this asterisk forever, you can just say kernel interrupt. Okay, it will end it. It'll throw an error, but it will end it. Okay, now this is a easier thing. So if you want to take the user input, you can say end, like this is the caption I'm putting. Okay, so I mean, just for now, I'm little leapfrogging ahead just to make sure that you are comfortable with the idea of the input. So what you can do is, if you want to take the input from the user, like put a variable name, this is x equals, and then input, and then brackets. And then here is the caption, whatever will appear here, and then bracket closed. Okay. So let's say I put Sandeep. Now, whatever the user is entering, it's going to go in X. Okay, so you can see it has come here. All right. Everybody is comfortable with this. In case this asterisk does not, asterisk is persisting here, what you can do is click on kernel and interrupt. Okay, in case there is an asterisk here and it's not stopping. Okay, and sometimes when it doesn't work, you always say kernel restart. If you do the restart of the kernel, all your variables that you have defined, this is how you define a variable. Variable essentially means something in the memory. We can just keep things in that. So when we say x equals 1, essentially we are allocating a memory, and in that we're putting some value. Okay, that's what it is. Now, coming back to the point that here, so this is essentially the main idea. So in the meantime, you should try, if you have installed, right? If you have installed it, you must have tried it so far. How many of you actually tried? Just put it in the comments. Yes. How many of you have tried the notebook so far? Or nobody has tried yet? Yes. Okay. Let me try connecting my iPad so that I can draw while explaining to you. Okay. Okay. All right. So I think I connected my iPad. Okay, so that I can draw while explaining to all of you. Okay, so let's test if it's working. So a variable is like something in the memory, and like this is called, say, X, and I'm putting 1 in this. And if I want to put something else on this, I can just put that thing. Like, for example, we entered a text here, and okay, so that's the text that we entered. Now, all right. So basically, in this box, this is the memory in the computer, and you can think of it as if there is a place. There are switches which basically turn on and turn off. Okay, that's essentially is the memory. Memory is like, you know, switches are turning off and turning on, right? So that's how a memory is built in the computer. Now, coming back to it, so this is the notebook. Now let me move ahead to the next, my dear. So we also talked about how does a program in Python looks like. Okay, and how does the program in Python looks like? Those who are starting with, those who want to create a program from command line, for them, let me just walk you through. Okay, so imagine that you are trying to want to create a program that can be run from command line. Okay, so right, we just want to create a simple program which basically prints 1+1. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, and please pay attention if you have not yet done this. So here I'm saying this time new. So in this folder, I'm creating a new file. Okay, I'm creating a new file using new text file. Okay, and let it open. All right, and there we go. So we'll just change the name of this program. Let's call it Hello World and September 19. Okay, Hello World September 19.py. Okay, that's the name of the file. We can put an underscore. Okay, that's the name of the file. And all we are saying is print 1+1, right? Is this a valid Python code? Do you think that this will work, or will it throw an error? All right, once you have done that, now you can simply go to a new and terminal. All right, here in the terminal, you can run Python, or let me show you how to use Python 3 in the environment. If you go under notes, okay, if you go under notes, you will find this line. Okay, so this line takes you to Python 3. I'm copy pasting this line in the terminal. So make yourself very comfortable with the terminal. If you are not comfortable with Linux or something, we have given you a complimentary tutorial on Linux. Okay, so now if I type Python here, it's going to go with Python 3.6. This is an interactive shell. So first we talked about the Jupyter Notebook. This is an interactive shell. This is actually the one that the Python notebook has created inside it. When we say kernel, kernel means it has internally running this thing. Okay, and we have, right, we have here, you can basically type any kind of program, any kind of code, and it will work. Okay, you can use it like a calculator. Okay, so here is the same code that we are trying to execute from there. If you want to exit from here, you have to press Control D only once. Okay, Control D is end of input, and that's what you have to press only once. Now this is terminal. Most of you would not be that comfortable with the terminal. Okay, so make yourself more comfortable. In case you get stuck, don't give up. Just try all possible things. Control C, Control D. You cannot really harm CloudxLab much. We can restore your environment if you're completely lost. Okay, so here is the idea. So you can see that this is another way of running a program. When we are running the code on servers in professional environment, we do not, I mean, a production environment, we do not really use Jupyter Notebook or interactive shell. Instead, we use this method of executing a code. All right, so I hope this is all comfortable with you. So we talked about 3 ways: interactive shell, when we type Python and the interactive shell comes up, the Jupyter Notebook, and third one is by the way of creating a program like this. Okay, now let me get back to where we were. So then we have we also talked about very quickly that there are various things like a program is composed of instructions or steps, and the first thing to note is like the variables. There are something called variables. You can keep defining the variables up to your choice. This is called a string. A string could be like this, or it could be surrounded by double quotes. Okay, so if you have to write a text, you can always put it like this. So this is your string. Okay, so this is basically a different type of variable. At the same time, right, we could also say flag equals true. Okay, and the flag equals false, right? These are the two values that you can put. And this is Boolean, this is string, this is number. Okay, in case of Python, you do not need to define the variables by the way of float, integer, or any other thing. It infers the type of the value. Okay, it infers the type of the value. Like for example, right, like for example, let's say this is a name. Okay, this is my name, and I'm just putting name here. It's working fine. And this is, let's say, my amount equals 2.5, right? And when I say amount plus 4, the answer is done, right? Amount plus 4 is 6.5, correct? But if you say flag plus 4, what will happen? Okay, right? Flag plus 4, what happened? Okay, flag was, what is the value of flag? 0. Okay, so it's false, and 0 plus 4 is 4. Okay, and what happens when you try to add 4 to something? Name. Okay, name plus 4, it gives an error. It says it should be string. You cannot add 4 to a string. Okay, what happens when I say multiply? Okay, so it has multiplied this is string 4 times. All right, so try to check various kinds of operations on the variables. Like if you go with name and press dot and then tab, it will show you the list of things that you could call. Okay, so like for example, my name, if I want to capitalize, then first letter has become capital. Similarly, name dot uppercase, right? So you can try all kinds of functions that are given on it. Okay, those who want to find out, study more, you can just say help and name. It is going to show you the documentation of that particular thing. It seems that there is no documentation for like Sandeep. Okay, and you can try help str. Okay, so you can see this is the documentation for string class. Okay, it is detailed documentation. If you want to just find out what are the methods available in a string class, you can try this. Okay, similarly, dir name, you can try. It shows you all the functions. These underscore ones are internal. These are the without the underscore, these are the ones that you use. Okay, so make yourself comfortable with various functions, go through the documentation of this thing, and that's where you start. Now, coming back to where we are here, I just wanted to give you perspective. And okay, now moving ahead. All right, we've all discussed all of this. Okay, do solve these questions. Okay, I'll just skip ahead from the MCQs. Okay, try following this, and Okay. Okay. All right. So my suggestion, the way you can follow these classes is go through the LMS, right? Go through my courses and try solving all these questions and utilize these classes for asking or clearing your doubts. Okay. So right now we are talking about variables. And do you have any questions up to so far? No questions? All right. So I'm going to move a little bit faster now. I'm assuming that you have gone through everything and you are comfortable with these ideas, right? So these parts we've talked about. So variables are like these numbers with the, right? You can see 1, 2, 3, and all right. One more thing you have to keep in mind that the name of a variable, okay? Name of a variable, okay? Which of these names do you think are okay? Let me. Okay. So I'm going back to the Jupyter notebook that I created for this discussion. Yes. So in case of Python or most of the programming languages, right? The variable name. So question from Joseph is, where do I find recording for today's session? This will be available on our YouTube channel, as well as it'll be available in your My Courses. You can go to CloudxLab and see this, okay? Now, this is a way we define variable, right? But can we have a variable name like this? One name or one underscore name? Is this a valid name? Yes. This is not a valid name. Okay. The name should either start with alphabetic character or it should start with an underscore. Okay. And if you try to put, let's say, a variable name like one underscore name, you're going to get an error. It says invalid token. Okay. Similarly, you cannot have a name like this. Okay. It's going to throw an error. And therefore, just keep in mind that only alphabetic character or underscore are the valid first letter in a variable. Okay. While the remaining letters could include 1, 2, 3, and so on, numbers as well. Okay. It could be this and so on. You cannot have a variable name like this. Okay. So the first letter needs to be either one A or alphabet. All right. That's the important part. And if you want to put something as in the comment, you can just put a hash. This will not be considered. Okay. And in a variable, rest of the letters could be right. Rest of the letters could be this or numbers. Okay. Now, a question is, right? Are these are these are these same variables or different variables? Okay. Capital name and small name, right? Are these same or different? They are different. Okay. This casing matters. So if you say name you will get Sandeep, while if you say lowercase, you'll get Deepak. All right. A question from Abhishek is, how many underscore in the beginning of any variable name is allowed? Any number of underscores. Okay. So in the beginning of the first letter could be either alphabet or underscore. Remaining letters in the name of the variable could be underscore, alphabet, or a number. Okay. Notice that you cannot have a number in the first letter. Okay. So that's about it. And this is how we write comments. This is how we write comments now. All right. So I hope everybody is comfortable with this. So strings could be single quote or double quotes. Okay. So one thing to check quickly is, let's say we are writing here. We can quickly compare two things by the way of double equals. Okay. Like for example, Sandeep, is it equals to Sandeep, right? They both are equal, because this is how you define a string in Python with a single quote as well as double quote. Okay. I hope this is clear. So you can see double equals is not a sign. Okay. Double equals is essentially for comparing two things. Okay. That's a big difference in Python, that when you say double equals, it means we are comparing two things. And when we are saying equals, we are putting this value inside this variable name so that we can access it. Okay, for the variable name, we don't have to put anything like dollar or anything, any other things like in Perl or other programming languages. Here, you just have to define the variables like this. Now, coming back to it. Question is, can we have underscore 123 as a name? Okay, good question. Anybody? Yes, yes or no? Do you think this is valid? Yes. It is valid. Okay, let's just test it. And it's a valid variable name. Okay. As I said, the first letter needs to be underscore or alphabet. Remaining could be alphanumeric character or an underscore. Okay. All right. Now, this is also a valid variable name, underscore. Okay. All right. So sometimes you will find things like underscore equals this. That's also valid. Also, in case of Python, this is another thing that you have to keep in mind, that we can say assign two variable names in a single shot. Okay. So this one is assigning one to X and two to Y. Okay. That's what is going on. So this one is assigning X to 1 and Y to, 1 to X and 2 to Y. All right. So this is another interesting aspect of Python. Okay. This is way more friendlier. You can always see. And sometimes you'll find the code like this, and you'll see this and this. Right? So it's assigning 4 to underscore. Underscore is a very valid name of the variable, and 3 to X, right? So that's about the variable names. All right. So basically, variable is something that stores the value in a memory, and it could be a decimal, it could be integer, and so on. So if you assign the value 100 to X, it is going to override this. Okay, it's going to override this. It must start with underscore, must consist of letters and numbers and underscores, and it needs to be case sensitive. And it is case sensitive, not it needs to be case sensitive. It is case sensitive, and you cannot use many special words. Okay, like for example, if you try to say if equals 1, even though it's a very valid letter, right? Very valid variable name, we cannot use it. Why? Because if is a reserved keyword. Okay. Similarly, you cannot use and, del, for. Okay. So make yourself comfortable with these keywords. In case you get error like this, consider just putting an underscore there. Okay. And then experiment with that. Now, okay. So x equals to 2 and x equals x plus 2 is essentially a print statement. Okay. Quick question to all. Let's say we have x equals 10. Okay. Let's say, let's give them name. Ram is 100 and Sham is 20. Okay. Now question is, okay. Now question is, if you want to swap the values, Ram and Sham, what are we going to do? Okay. Quickly. If you want to swap the values of Ram and Sham, what are we going to do? Yes. So we can define a temporary variable and put Ram's value in there, and then assign Sham to Ram, and then Sham to temporary variable. This is one way. The other cool way is Sham comma Ram equals Ram comma Sham. This is another way of doing it. Okay, so you can try Ram, Sham, right? So here, Ram is 10, Sham is 20, and when you swap them like this, so we put the thing from Ram into temp and from Sham into Ram, and then temp back into Sham, and then the values are exchanged. You can see now it's 20, 10, right? Ram is 10 and Sham is 20. Now, here, if you see, again, if you notice that this basically would swap it back. Did you notice this? This is a cool way of doing the swapping. Okay, so this is another way of assigning things, and you'll find it way more comfortable with Python if you do this way, right? I hope everybody is okay with the pace. I hope I'm not going very fast. All right, so we can assign the variable to itself also, right? We can say Ram plus equals 100. And here, Ram, the value of Ram has increased by 100. Okay. And let's say we could also say Sham equals Sham minus 50, 59. And in that case, the Sham's value has become minus 39, right? I hope everybody is clear about this idea. We can create many complex expressions, okay? We can create many complex, expressions by using variables. So variables is the first step. And I did not realize the value of the variables until I was teaching my kid the programming language, that how much important is the variable. Similarly, while I was I was playing those guys who are interested in understanding how the programming language or the computer is built. I would strongly recommend you guys to play this game called nandgame.com. I'm really impressed with it. Okay, so you basically, using the electricity, you create your code. Okay, this is like just amazing, and like it starts with creating this. Even if you have no background in computing, you will be able to do it. So using a relay, Okay, there's a magnet, there's a magnet, and then you put the inputs, and then there is an output, then there is a magnet. So if you notice that here, right, as I turn off and on, you will, right. So this is, you can see this. I focus on this. So if I turn it off, this thing goes away because magnet is off. This thing goes away, and then electricity goes off. If I turn it on, then the magnet is on. It has attracted this thing and it is on. So this is called a relay. So using relays, it helps you build, it helps you build, where is my labels? Yeah, first it lets you build something called NAND gate, then invert gate, then these different logics, and then using these, you do this, then you learn to add two numbers and you learn to define variables and so on. So try this game. This is like, if you really want to understand bottom up how electricity gets converted into logic, that will be, fun thing to do. All right. So moving ahead, this is what is going on. So you can essentially, asterisk means multiplication, slash means division, and you can do lots of complex operation. Okay. So the right hand side value will be computed first. Okay. And you must have seen the BODMAS rule. So the brackets will be computed first. So first step will be this one. So the first thing that will be computed is this, right? In case of 3.9 asterisk x asterisk this value, the value, this will be calculated first, right? And then whatever is the result will be multiplied with this. X will still be 0.6, okay? X will, because we have not changed it. And then once we multiply these three, it is going to store it back here. All right. So that way you can visualize it. So the order is same as what is there earlier. So once we have computed this value, it will replace 0.6 with this one. All right. So these are the various numeric expressions: addition, subtraction, multiplication. The only thing that you may want to pay attention to the last two. Okay. The other ones you can figure it out. The last two, this is power. Okay. Power. This is number multiplied that many times. Okay. So you can try quickly here. And the beauty about the coding is that if you have a doubt, like for example, Bhupinder asked that, can we have _123 as a name? The cool part is in programming, you can just try it out. Okay. You can just try it out. And you must try it out. Any doubt you get, the first thing you do is just try it out. Okay. So similarly, we want to find out what exactly does it mean. Okay. So it's equal to 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, right? So you can see that. And what is the modulus? The remainder. Okay. The remainder is something very interesting, right? So if you say this remainder 3, what is the answer you will get? Okay. A question is, what exactly is an expression? This is an expression. Okay. When you have multiple, there is this is called an operand. This is called, this is a number. This is, this is a operand, which is a variable. And then this is an expression. Okay. This is an expression. Expression essentially is bunch of operators and operands. Okay. And this is also an expression. This also is an expression. Okay. Expression is like a sentence. Okay. In language, you have sentence. In here, you have these statements. This is also a statement, print statement. This is also a statement. This is another statement. So statements are made up of, right? So The statements are made up of expressions and so on. So you will use the expression and statements interchangeably. Okay. You don't have to remember per se that this is exactly what an expression or an statement is. Just that know that we will use expression or statement to represent this. All right. Okay. So you can create these calculations or expressions or statements using various operators. Okay, assignment operator we saw, equals, comparison operator we saw, double equals. These are numeric operators. Okay, these are numeric operators, and the most important part is the remainder. Okay, remainder is when you divide something and then you get it, right? A question from Abhishek is, how do we differentiate between operators and expression? Expression, see, these are operators. Okay, these are operators, and this is this is an operator. So the operators combined with operands, operands are numbers and variables. Okay, numbers, strings, or constants with variables. Those are called operands, right? And operands combined with the operators create expressions. Okay. All right. All right. So now I wanted to discuss something very cool. Okay. So when you divide something with a number, when you divide something with a number, the remainder is always lesser than the divisor, right? Always lesser than the divisor. Do you agree with that? So the output of this one will always be less than 3, right? Here. Okay. If you want to check if something is divisible by 3, you can say x% 3 equals 0, right? This is false, while you could say, in this case, it's true. All right. So this is the role of modulo. Okay. Modulo is also used when you want to, let's say there are a bunch of numbers and you want to put them in different buckets, let's say 3 buckets. So you basically compute the modulo of each number with 3, and whatever is the result, you put it in that bucket. Okay. So that's another use of modulo. We will see it in future. Okay. So modulo or remainder is essentially, this is modulo or remainder percent, and that's how it is. Okay. I hope this is clear to all. Moving ahead. A question from Abhishek is, but if we write 3% 40, we will still get 3 remainder. Yes. Yes. Okay. We will get 3 as a remainder. All right. So I hope this is all clear to all. The order of evaluation in case of Python is basically, number one, it follows the BODMAS rule. This is the kind of rule. Parentheses are most important. Power is the second more important. Then multiplication, then addition. And if there are additions, like it goes from left to right. Okay, it goes from left to right. That's a wherever there is a equivalence, like addition, subtraction, right? I'll just write it here. So, okay, this is subtraction, not this one. So the plus or minus, multiplication and division, and power, and then parentheses. Okay, then parentheses. All right. And also there is one more here. There is a negation. Okay, I'll just show you. And So if you see 1 plus 2 plus 3, okay, yeah, what will be the result? 0, right? Because here it doesn't matter whether this is being added or subtracted, right? Like first you subtract and then you add, okay? And now if you notice this, we are first multiplying, and then subtracting, okay? And if you basically put it like this, it means it will first do the power, okay? This will become 100. So it'll first become 100, right? 100, and then it'll multiply, it'll become 300, and then it'll subtract, okay, and it'll become minus 297. Okay, let's just check. Okay, so it'll be like that, right? And one more thing is here, if you put minus, what will happen? Okay, all right, what will happen? It's essentially the minus is getting evaluated first. Okay, so all right, so I think this is pretty clear to all. So we are basically doing this, and if you have let's say to the power 2 plus 1, okay, in that case this will be evaluating first, this will be evaluated first, okay, this will become 3, that's the first thing. Then 10 to the power 3 means 10 to the power 3 means what is 10 to the power 3? This, right? And then it'll become 3000, and then it'll subtract and you will get that answer above. Okay, double asterisk is power, yeah, to the power. Okay, no worries. So I hope this is all clear from left to right. If there are equal precedence operators, it is essentially left to right. Okay, moving ahead. Okay, another thing is Python integer division is was used to be there like this, but that's not a confusion anymore. So if you say 1 by 5, the answer will be 1 slash 5, answer is 0.2. If you want to do integer division, meaning that there should not be any decimal, okay. Yes. A question from Neeraj is, what is negation, right? I'll talk about this very soon. So double slash gives you the you know, it gives you the integer, like the result of integer division. Okay, so if you say 3 by 4 normally, and if you say 3 slash 4, here it's basically dividing the integer value. Okay, so now let's take a look at 13 by 4. 13 by 4 is 3.25. 13 slash 4 is 3. Okay, so that's about the integer division. In previously, in the previous Python versions, if you go to the lab and open this, okay, I'm just going to exit it and relaunch it. Okay, I'm just going to show you. This is the, by default, when you open console, you get Python 2. Okay, you get Python 2. Here you can try things like, let's say 4 divided by 3. Earlier in Python version 2, you will do by default slash was an integer division. Okay, if this is an integer, meaning it's not decimal, and then you will get this kind of answer. But if you have like an integer, right? Now, integer is with the dot. So 4 dot means 4 is a decimal number. Sorry, this is a decimal number. So when you say 4 by 3, then you get 1.3. And if you say 4/3 normally without decimal number, then you get an answer. So if the numerator and denominator was integer, numerator and denominator was integer, it would consider slash to be integer division. Okay, that was in Python 2. Okay, now by default, the Python division is now decimal number. Okay, and this is a behavior that got changed in between Python 2 and Python 3. This is one of the behaviors, and I'm kind of okay with this. This is integer division. Okay. All right. So yes, type means basically if there are two numbers, if you add them, they'll be added like this. If there are two strings and you add them, they'll be concatenated. Okay, strings means a set of character or text. Okay, concatenate is in putting together. Now coming back to the type, you cannot concatenate a number and a string. Okay, you cannot add a number in the string. So you can find out the type of anything by just using type. Okay, you can just say type, and okay, X is integer, you can see, and name, I think we define name also, right? And you can see type is name, right? So you can see it's a string. Type of the name is a string, and let me see. Ram and Shyam, we could try Shyam. Similarly, we could also try what is the type of 1.2. It shows float. Okay. All right. So okay, so individual characters are also referred to as literals. Okay, moving ahead, you can convert one type to another, right? When you are taking input from the user, let's take an input from the user. Okay, amount equals input, how much money you need. Okay, and this is the amount that I'm entering right now. Okay, so please pay attention. This is most important thing. So here, notice that single quote around this amount. Is amount a number or a text? Yes? Okay. If you try to add 1 to the amount, it is going to throw an error saying that, hey, it needs to be string. Now, this is where the problem starts. So you can check the type of amount. So yes, the system is right. It's a string. By default, when the user is entering something, it goes into like this variable, and it is string by default. Now what to do? I want to convert this amount into integer. Okay. Okay. So we can say int amount, and it has converted into integer. Now you don't see this. So we could say things like amount equals int of amount. Now we can do the rest of magic. All right. Or we could do float. Okay. And so on. So this is, let's say here, I entered 4.5. Okay. And the amount is now still string, and still string. And then we could say float, and then take a look at this one, right? Now the amount is a decimal number. Okay, so So this is how you can take the input and you can convert the text into the input. By default, when we are reading from the user, by default, when you are reading from a file, by default, most of the data will be either binary data or text or text. Yes. So this type, float, and int and input, they are all internal functions. Okay, they are system functions. These are built-in functions, you can say. Okay. All right. So using int and float, we can do the conversion. All right. We can take the user input the way I have showed you already, and we can convert the user input from using int function. Okay, using int. Also, you can instead of putting it in two steps here separately. Okay, that's a beauty about programming, that you don't need to remember too many things, right? So you can just put int here, okay, like this. All right, and now the amount is going to be an integer, right? You don't see a double quote around it, right? So this way you can do the type conversion. Comments in Python is double quote, comment in Python is hash, okay? And sometimes you need to write documentation. I'll talk about that one. So comments are nice. You basically, wherever they, okay. So in your code, as a matter of practice, always put the comments at the place where it is needed, not everywhere, because a common practice is that you put the comment where your code is little messy or your code is doing something which looks not obvious. In case of Python, most of the code is very easy to read. Okay, so you don't need to write comment like this is a variable. No, you don't need to write that comment. Okay, you usually need to write the comment wherever there is a complex logic. Okay, also keep in mind that when you are coding and your code is becoming bigger, comments will become obsolete very quickly, because the compiler or the system will not catch the mistakes in comments. If there's a mistake in your code, the system will check quickly and you'll get the wrong results and you will fix it. But comments will go ignored and they will be, more misleading than helpful. Okay. So at one end, we should comment, at another end, we should minimize the comment. So you should basically be succinct about writing the comment, succinct, or you can say precise in the comments. Okay. All right. So there are many operations on string, like you can concatenate by using plus, by asterisk, you can multiply, like it'll be repeated that many times. And okay, so the variable names, so you should not define the variable name like X, Y, Z. You should have meaningful variable names. Okay, meaningful variable names. And the way we usually do is we put underscores between them. Now, if you put the variable name like this, you can't really figure out what you designed what for. Okay, and as a matter of, no matter how smart you are, if you mess up your variable names, it's going to confuse you more often. Okay, and more meaningful names are like this, that hours are these, rates are these, and the pay is this much. Okay, so you can try creating simple program now, simple program like this. Okay, right? This is my principal, P for principal, and you'll say float of input. I'm trying to create a program for computing interest. Okay. Enter the principal amount, then the rate, right? And then the time. Okay, so you can see it's so simple to just do this. So you enter the amount and so on, and then you print P multiplied by R multiplied by T divided by 100. Okay. All right. So this is your result. Okay. So this is how you can do cool things and create interest calculator and other things. Okay. So try solving these questions in the lab. Okay. And that's about the variables. Okay. I'm going a bit faster, assuming that you will be all comfortable. Okay. Now let me pick. Okay. So the other thing that you may want to learn is after the variables, it will be functions and so on. Okay, there is no it's not always in case of programming when you are learning, there will be a lot of back and forth. Okay, lot of back and forth, and there's a reason for back and forth because like for example when we were studying the first chapter where we were printing something, so we learned about functions before actually learning about functions. Okay, we started using functions in the beginning itself. Okay, and that's what is going to happen more often now. Okay, so moving ahead, um all right, all right, so after this we'll talk about, okay, let's take let me see. Okay, so I think a better thing would be that I take up the, doesn't matter, let me just pick. Okay, so those who are comfortable with coding, you don't need to go through theory. You can just start the way they are, right? You just start moving. Okay, you don't need to worry about reading everything. And I'll close these previous slides, and I'll also close this other thing. Oh, but let it be open. I think that required. Make yourself super comfortable with things and do more and more hands-on. Okay, I was actually targeting at least two topics. Okay, so let me go through. All right. My request to all of the people who are attending this session is that go through multiple topics, go through the course, and be ready with the questions. Okay, that's how you can utilize this course more efficiently. All right. So let's talk about strings today. So strings are basically a sequence of characters, right? Sequence of letters, you can say, or sequence of alphabets or alphanumerics. And it is essentially, um, you know, everything is a character. I mean, everything is a number at the end of the day. So the letters are represented as numbers under the hood. And these strings are basically a bunch of arrays, bunch of numbers. Okay, bunch of numbers in a sequence. Okay, and bunch of numbers as in the H in hello is represented underneath with a number. And similarly, E is represented with a number. L is also represented with a number. That's how it is. So you can think of an string as a list of characters or a list of letters. Okay, that's how it is. Okay, and okay, so basically, whenever we are taking input, everything by default is a text or a string, and you can convert using the various functions we talked about, int, float, and so on. Okay, the other part that what you need to understand is that you can access things using, right? I think I'll also describe quickly what's an array. Okay, and that'll give you a better perspective on strings. All right. So all right. Yes, I think that's better, right? Okay. Let me make it okay. In the meantime, okay. So here we go, and yes. All right. The other important variable type is array. Okay. Arrays are really, really useful in Python. I want to go with array before going to the string. Okay. So the arrays are really useful. Arrays are basically bunch of numbers or bunch of things in a sequence. Okay. Bunch of things in a sequence. Like, for example, this is my list. Okay, you start it with a square bracket. Okay, and then put things inside it using comma. Okay, so this is a list. It could also have the it could also have the non non numbers. Okay, let me just show you this. So you could define bunch of things together using this. So my list, let's say my things, my stuff, for example, my stuff is say 4.0 and bag. Okay, so this will contain all of these things. Okay, you can see this is called the list. Those who are coming from other programming language, they would be familiar with array. So this is basically array in Python. Okay, so right, and the great part about an array in Python is that you can add the stuff to it. Okay, you can add the stuff to it. You can take things out from it. You can set things at a place and so on. Like, for example, I want to access a particular value from it. So you start from left to right with a 0. Okay, so this is at a position 0 at position. Okay, let me change my color to blue. Okay, so this is at 0 position. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. These are the positions of various things, and you can access them with that index. So you can say, right, and So my stuff at 0 is 1. Okay. And my stuff at, let's say, 0, 1, 2, 3. What is that 3? It's the bag. And sorry, it's the 4. Okay. And my stuff at 4 is the bag, right? So this is how you can access things in a sequence. Okay. If you want to keep things in a neat and tidy manner, or you want to keep the values in a sequential manner, the list will be your place to go. So this is called the list. Okay, I just want to introduce you to the list very quickly so that you are comfortable with the idea. Okay, so Python's string is nothing but a list of characters, okay. Is everybody comfortable with the idea of the list? Right, and you can access things from the list using the index, right? For example, if I have to access it, say one more thing is you can also access things starting at certain point. Like for example, give me all the things starting from the 0 up to 2. Okay, you can see we got 1 and 2. When it essentially says that give me two things from the beginning, and it gave us two things from the beginning, right? If we want to get two things starting at 1, oh sorry, all right, sorry, I basically used the numpy one. Okay, let me put it again. So starting from the beginning, give me the thing up to the second index. Okay, but not including second index. So 0 and 1, but not 3. Okay, similarly here I am saying give me things starting at 1. This is 1, right? Let me write it here. I think the index is okay. Let me just write it here like this. Okay, this is 0, right? This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Okay, I'm going to put a comment in front of it so that, right? So this is the index of these things, right? And let me also delete this stuff here. Okay, now, so if you want to access all the things starting from 0 up to a certain point, let's say up to here. So you'll say 0 to 2. 2 means that this one is not included, you see. 1, 2, right? These two things have come. Okay, now similarly, you could say 1, 2, meaning start at 1, okay, go up to, but not including 2. Okay, that is this value, right? So this is another way of accessing the stuff from the array, or you can say list. Are you okay with this, everyone? So once you have defined the list, you can modify the values. You can also access the values from the array. Okay, instead of defining so many variables like my value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4, value 5, we are defining a single variable and keeping all these values in this variable. Okay, any doubts on this? No? A question is that 0, 2 is first, and it means that 0 is, it starts at 0, goes up to 2, but not including 2. 0 up to 2, but not including 2. Okay, so the first thing, if you want to access the first thing from my stuff, you have to use 0. That's something that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so you have to use things like this. Okay, So starting from 0 up to 2, but not including 2. Similarly, 1:2 means starting at 1, going up to, but not including 2. That means only this, right? So the way you can visualize is that 0:2 is this. 1:2 is this. 1:2 is this. Confused? What is the data type of a list? It is essentially list. There is a internal data type called list. Okay, so you can see it's a data type is list. Okay, also a list can have all sorts of things. It can have number, it could have decimal numbers, it could have the text, it could have the boolean, and so on. And it can have other lists also. Okay, so okay, data type could be different. It doesn't need to be of the same type. That's the beauty of Python array. Okay, so you can say my list is equal to, right, my stuff and my stuff. Okay, now this is really interesting. So see, so my list contains my stuff. My stuff is this one. At any point of time, if I change a value of my stuff, right? How do you change a value? So if I want to change a value at certain position, all I have to do is just change it. Okay. So now my stuff is this, right? I changed the 0th value to 10, and my list is 10 and 10. Okay. So the list could contain other lists or other complex things. Okay. Here, it's the same thing being listed, and under the hood, it is accessing the same stuff. Okay. So you can see that. That if you change one thing in my stuff, it changes everything. Okay. And all right. So list could contain anything. Okay. List could contain. All right. Our question is when, right, the way we are accessing the stuff here, okay, there will be doubts, okay? Everybody make yourself comfortable with slicing or this accessing of the elements, because the access starts at 0, not 1. The first thing is 0. Second thing is 1. Third thing is 2. Okay, that's something that you have to keep in mind, and that's what will cause a bit of confusion. Okay, so last thing is 1 less than the length. Okay, so the length of this one is 5 and last one is 4. Okay, just 1 less than that. And so when we say 0 to 2, 0 to 2, internally it means start at index 0, go up to, but not including second index. Okay, that means 0 and 1, which is this value. Okay, so make yourself comfortable with this idea. All right, similarly, when we are saying 1, 2, it essentially means that we are going from starting at 1, the index 1, which is this value, and going up to but not including 2, therefore only one value, right? So starting here and right. Similarly, let me also take some more examples. Okay, I'm just creating another variable. Okay. Okay. And all right. Okay. Okay, so just take a look at this. Right? Now, if you see, if I say here, give me everything starting at 2 up to 2, okay? It'll give nothing. Starting at 2, but 1 less than 2, okay? It'll give you nothing, okay? So keep in mind that if I say 0 to 2, okay? 0 to 2, it will give me everything starting from 0 going up to 2, but 1 less than that. Okay. All right. So, okay. So now one more important part that there are so cool things about it. So if you miss putting 0, it's by default takes 0. Okay. If you basically skip the last one, it will print till the end. Okay. So starting at 1 till the end is cow, rat, apple. Okay. Now, if you want to access the last value, you can just use -1. Okay. You can see that. That's the last value. If you want to find out the length of a list, is basically len. Okay. And if you want to find out the if you want to reverse it, okay. If you want to reverse it, you can just use reverse. Okay. And this is how you can reverse it, right? Similarly, you can also sort it. Okay. You can sort it, like order the data based on the 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 character set. So you can see that the data is now sorted. Okay. So these are the various functions that you can do on a list. All right. And here is the string. Strings are essentially, right, an array or list of numbers. Okay. Is there a better way I can take it forward? Okay. So yeah. All right. I'm not sure if you can. There is one more thing is there that you could go from 0 till the end, and okay. Okay. This is another way you can reverse it, right? Rat, fish, cow, apple. Okay. So this is another way you can reverse it. I hope this is clear. So there is a third thing that you can mention. Okay. Like for example, I'm saying, give me everything from 0 to 3. Okay. With a gap of 1. Okay. So 0 to 3 with a gap of 1, no big deal. It's the same thing. Starting from apple, cow, fish, but not including red because we have said 0 to. And we are saying gap of 1. If we say gap of 2, what happens is it becomes like this. So apple and then jump by 2, fish, and that's it. Okay. If we say this, so now you can see apple, fish. Okay. If you start at 1, okay, then it goes cow and rat, right? So this is the gap part, right? If you want to jump around. Okay. So if you say -1, then it reverses it. Okay, they start at, let's say, beginning till the end, and then -1. So these are some of the things that you can go through the documentation of the list. Okay, so this is what we were studying so far. So we could keep things in the list. And all right, so okay, so that's about the list. I'm just going through quickly, um, with some of the things that you will need so that we can start with the loops and other things. Okay, so I hope similarly, the way you can think of strings is that strings are nothing but the list. Okay, nothing but the list. Okay, length is a function. Length function gives us the length of a string or an array. Okay, all right. Okay, so our question is, what happens when we access at a wrong index, right? It usually throws an error. You should give it a try very quickly. Okay, you should give it a try like this. You should try mlist and then say 10, right? And you'll get an error. So okay, so that's the string. I want to take up these things in more details when we talk about, say, loops and other things. Otherwise, you'll get, overwhelmed by it. All right. So now all right. Okay. So now we are basically a little familiar. Now, basically, you are a little familiar with what's a string, what's a list, and what are the variables. Now we can go ahead with something called conditional execution. Okay, conditional execution. Okay, and right. A question from Abhishek is, how many functions of strings should be advisable to know? Basically, I do not suggest everybody to remember the functions or things like that. All you need to do is just practice a little bit, lower, uppercase, and those kind of functions that you should try. And you should know how to access a particular character or things inside a string. Okay, just like we access the list, similarly we have to do that. Okay, so there is nothing to memorize as such. What you have to do, the focus should be more on solving a problem. And when you need a function, just look around on the internet and or just do a help on an object, and you will find all the functions that are needed. Okay, just do help, that's it, in the notebook, the way I described. Okay, now moving ahead quickly. So all right, so the very important part that we discussed earlier was conditional steps. Okay, so conditional steps are something that you should make yourself familiar with. Okay, so, and this won't happen just like this. I would say that unless you solve a couple of exercises, all this knowledge will be waste. Okay, so make sure that you do more and more exercises during the week. And basically, in case of conditional statements like if else, one more thing I want to tell everybody is that do not wait for the weekend that I will teach you. My suggestion is that get started in the course and utilize these sessions in getting your questions answered. That will be the main agenda. That should be the main agenda. And like when you are struggling with a week and you're trying to solve those, that's the time you will learn. You will not learn by attending this class. I can tell you that you can only learn by this class if you are asking your doubts, if you are getting your doubts cleared. Okay. Do not wait for this class to happen uh, for you to learn something. My suggestion is just get started, go to CloudxLab, get started with the Python course. And the theory is like free. It's only the lab that we charge for because we pay Google and Amazon for the servers that we are hosting. Okay, so make sure that you do a lot of practice. The programming is not something that you can memorize, that somebody can help you memorize, somebody can teach you as such. I can only get you started. I can only, give you an environment to play. It is you who have to you know practice and learn to apply these apply the things that I'm teaching there. So my suggestion to all of you would be that get onto the lab, get onto the Jupyter notebook, start practicing, start coding, just start trying all kinds of things. Whatever question that comes to your mind, start experimenting there. Okay, with this fundamental knowledge, okay, you will be able to do a lot. All right, so now coming back to where we were. So conditional steps are essentially something like if else. Okay, if, right, if something is lesser than this, bigger than this, so those kind of condition statements. So notice that this is an expression. This is an expression. If followed by an expression, then colon, then there is a tab. This is something that those who are new to Python would find it awkward, that the definition of block is not using curly brackets or other things, or like in HTML, there is angle brackets to mark that this thing is starting from here till here. Here, a block or a group of statements is marked by equal number of tabs or equal number of spaces before it. Okay, so like for example here, I'll just minimize this. Okay. All right. This is where there's an expression. This is all done. List is all done. Okay, I'll just close this. Okay, I'll code it and I think it will become more comfortable. Okay, so if conditions are pretty neat, right? Let's say this is your variable equals 10, or let's say you are taking the input from the user, okay, and you're saying convert it into integer and input from the user, right? You can say input enter number, right? And here you're saying if this my variable is less than 10, okay, okay, print use the ten items or less counter, okay, else use any counter. Okay, do you see anything wrong in it? Okay, so you can see it should be 10 items or less. Okay, so either we can make it like 11 here, okay, and then run it. Okay, so it's asking for this. Let's say use any counter. Okay, And like if I'm saying 9 or let's say 10, it says use 10 items or less counter, right? So this is a block. Okay, this is a block, and this gets, all of these things will get executed together. Like for example, here, okay. Okay, so like for example, this one will get executed with this. If this condition is true, if this condition, my variable is less than 11, then both of these will get executed. Otherwise, this will get executed, right? So if you say 3, so it says, which is the first one, okay? And similarly here, if you say print, okay, any other counter, and I'm saying from 1 to 10, okay, just to give you a perspective. Okay, so you can see which is the first counter is by getting executed when this is here. And then if I say 23, it says use any other counter. Okay, right? So I hope you got the picture. This is called, again, this is called a condition, right? Condition is usually an operator, comparison, and then another operand. Sorry, operand, condition, conditional operator, operand, conditional operator, and operand. Okay, sorry. This is called an operand, like a variable, and a condition operator, and this is the uh, another operand. So you can create this kind of condition by combining less than, equal to, and so on. So these are the kind of statement you can have: less than equals to, double equals, and then right, greater than equals. This is essentially equal to, okay, and greater than, not equal to. And further, you can combine it with by adding and. Okay, so you can, so the indentation, make sure that all the things is called a block. Block means if this is true, execute all these statements or execute the entire block. That's essentially that. Okay, so in the text editor, make sure that you are using spaces instead of tab. So the indentation could be based on tab or based on spaces. Okay, just make sure that it's equal number of spaces or equal number of tabs, and do not mix the tab and the spaces. Okay. Now, many people find it very awkward. I found it very awkward that why is it like this? The idea is that this makes it very much readable. So the language itself is enforcing the readability in the code. And I find it really, 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 really important that readability is the most important part in the code, because code is for the human consumption. Okay, code is for the human consumption. You write once and thousands of people are going to read your code, not only use your code but read your code. So make sure that this indentation consistency forces the code to be more readable. Okay, it doesn't look that cryptic. And that's one of the reasons why people really like Python, that instead of curly brackets, usually in case of say other languages, you don't have the indentation enforced. Instead you can just write things like curly bracket and like this. Okay, and this is like this. Now this is not as readable as this, right? It's better to just have the indentation enforced, and that's the beauty of the Python. So these two things will get executed if this condition is true. Okay, try experimenting and you'll get an idea. Okay, so okay, and also please keep in mind that you could have you could have if condition inside another if. Okay, like for example here, if if here we are saying if x is greater than 1, do this. If x is less than 1, do this. Okay, this is called, this is like nested conditions, and you can have the conditions like this. Okay, if x is greater than 1, this is like flow chart, you can right? And okay, so basically this is how this is like if else, like when you are coding here, I did it very quickly. So if this is true, then this is executed, otherwise this is executed. Okay, all right, now moving ahead. Similarly, you could have multi-way, that if this is true, then do this. If this is true, then do this. Else if, you can see, if this is true, then do this. Otherwise, if this is true, then do this. Otherwise, do this, right? So if you have like x equals 9, x equals 9, it is going to basically print medium. Okay, otherwise it will print large. Okay, so make sure you are comfortable with if else conditions. Okay, and all right, so it becomes after a while these if else will become really complex. Okay, and make yourself comfortable with it. The next thing I want to quickly go through is that the try and accept. Okay, if there is a block which is you are going to get an error there in that block, in those cases put try and accept around it. Okay, so like for example here, if you are converting it, okay, like here you were converting it like amount equals right, or let's just say this. Okay, here, right? And the user entered invalid number. Like for example, I entered A. Okay, it'll throw an error. Okay, it'll throw an error. So to handle these kind of scenarios, we use try. Okay, and then we say accept, and then we'll say myvar equals 0. Okay, so we'll basically handle it that way, that now the value of myvar will be 0. So using try and accept, we can handle the error in a piece of uh, execution, and then take the corrective action. Okay, so using try and accept, we can handle the exception. So I want to quickly go through it because try and accept itself is a fair amount of detailing. So you should take a look at how try and accept in detail work. And then we will basically in the next session, what we are going to do is we are going to talk about loops. Okay, so till that point of time, I would say that finish, right? Finish up to here. Okay, up to here 36. Make sure that you finish up to 36. And if you want, you should go ahead and get ready for the next sessions. In the next session, we are going to talk about functions. Okay, functions. We are going to talk about the loops. Okay, and then we'll also talk about the strings in more details and lists in more details. Okay, all right, so these are the things that I have in mind. Okay, so we will in the next topic, before the next topic, finish everything before the functions. In the next topic, we are going to discuss the functions, loops, and strings. Okay, so try going through the chapter before joining next week. Try going through the chapter up to the loops so that you can ask questions and you can utilize these sessions. I'm looking forward to see your See your see you all next week. Make yourself comfortable. Utilize these classes into getting your doubts cleared. Okay, getting your doubt cleared, because the programming is all about working together. Programming is all about working. It won't happen, it won't help if you are just waiting for the class to happen, right? It won't work with you. So I would suggest that, okay, all right, we have actually done up to this. Okay, all right. Okay. So try, actually you can go up to here, the 63rd page. So make sure that you are at 63rd, you have finished up to 63rd, and then we can discuss in the next week. Okay. So make sure you are comfortable with these the ideas, and then, all right. Thank you so much. Have a good day. All right. Now, thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Yes, Abhishek, I just described the assignment. So these are the assignment. There are so many assignments in this. So please finish those. Okay. So yeah, at least make yourself comfortable. You'll be able to handle. You'll be able to handle up to, say, yeah, okay, up to say 51. Okay. So try going through in this flow and finish it as much as possible. All right. So at least 53, up to 50, not 50, not only 50. We've talked about all of this. Okay. Yes, 63, you must try up to 63. Okay. Up to 63. Okay. Up to 63, up to functions, you should be. Okay. Finish it. All right. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm looking forward to see you, but up to 63, you should finish all the exercises and make yourself comfortable with it. Okay. Because we have actually covered up to the conditional execution here. Okay. So yeah. Bye-bye. Have a good day.